Hey, Brett here. Why am I stretching? Before I started stretching like I do now, I had back pain every day. I would use rollers, balls, whatever. I have a million things in my office here, and I could solve the symptoms every day. But by the time the next day was there, I'd had the same problems. I don't have back pain anymore. I just don't. And I'm almost 60. I'm almost 58, but basically 60. So if you want to improve your body and you're willing to put in some time, like 15, 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week. I know that sounds like a lot, but once you start forming the habit, I don't know about you, but I get endorphins from stretching. So you might consider this. I'm going to talk through the principles as I go into my first stretch. But realistically, if you can get yourself doing a little bit of stretching, it pays huge dividends. And that's just the physical part of it. There's a whole bunch of mental stuff, neuroplasticity, and all that that I could go into. But right now, let's just get started. While I'm getting started, I wonder if you have a body part that bothers you, especially, put in the comments. What are your body parts? Because if you put something in the comments, I might be able to point you to a video I've already recorded or something from Science of Stretching slash Yoga Body that is going to help you maybe. So I'm going to be doing splits again. I last week I was doing primarily just regular stuff, and I'm going back to splits for the week. I'm going to start with front splits, and I'll get into the principles. Principle one: wet noodle. Make my body as limp as possible for the parts that I'm not stretching. If I can't be limp, maybe I'll be straight armed so that I'm using my skeletal structure. So wet noodle. Second thing, it requires time, passive tension over time, 2 to 5 minutes. For hip stuff, because hips are big and they have lots of muscles and there's also lots of other connections, you might go longer. But since I'm doing this a lot, 5 minutes is enough, though I might go longer. Breathe to relax. Over half of what we're doing. And actually, in the beginning, well over half of what you're doing, probably 75, 80% of what you're doing is you're training your nervous system. What does that mean? If you're breathing in your chest, you're probably in your sympathetic nervous system. You're in your brain is thinking about solution fixing. If you were to look at a functional MRI scan, there's less blood flow, and also there's more focused areas that are engaged. When you start to engage your parasympathetic nervous system, you're breathing into your belly. You tend to calm your system down, reduce cortisol levels. You tend to have more whole thinking. And believe it or not, your heart aura, there's an electromagnetic field that's measurable around your heart, starts to be more coherent. And people can pick up on that. And the way that happens is mirror neurons. So breathe to relax, passive tension over time, 2 to 5 minutes, wet noodle. Now, notice I've got my arm locked out. I can also do this. And this is still getting a good stretch here and a good stretch here. So front splits. I've been working on this now fairly consistently for about 3 months, and I've seen massive improvements, both in just my ability to do the splits, but also in my Tai Chi form, in my ability to get out of my car. So I have a car that I have to park sort of close to the driver's side, and sometimes I'm pretty close. Penny, sometimes I'm pretty close, and it's hard to get out of my car. Well, it's not really, but and I can now just get out and twist my back leg. Doesn't bother me. I couldn't do that last year, not even close. Now, there's two more principles I like to add. These are not official principles. I've got Penny's, but hey, Penny, what are you doing? What are you doing? Get over here. I got you. One thing is you got to work from where you're at. If you're tight one day, if you've got something going on, you got to work with where you're at, not where you think you should be, where you want to be, or comparing yourself to somebody else. Second thing is that's how it feels, not how it looks anyway. Honey, we were just outside, honey. I'm not letting you out while I'm in the middle of a stretch. Yeah, lay down. There you go, girl. Yeah, that's a good girl. This is my good side. I started on my good side, or my more flexible side. There you go, Penny. Just lay down. It's a good girl. Hi. Now, right now, I'm getting a whole bunch of stretch on my front right side, right here. And Kitty, don't push on me, please. Thank you. Cash is wonderful, but sometimes he flops down to me. And a lot of what I do is I try to figure out how to balance my body so I'm letting gravity do all the work. This system was originally called gravity yoga, but it got renamed because nobody understood what gravity yoga meant. I'm a nerd, so it completely resonates with me. But the guy who created it, he just didn't get as much engagement when it's called gravity yoga. And I'm going to trust him because he's a smart entrepreneur and has started many successful businesses and is really great in terms of how he teaches and how he teaches about teaching, in fact. I'm going to lay down for a second and rest. Now, I've got my elbows somewhat engaged, so I'm actually using friction to sort of give me a little back pressure. Notice my hands aren't doing anything. Oh my God, right there. I'm getting a big stretch on my left side or my right side. Hi, Penny. Okay, I suspect that's, oh, about 5 minutes. I can look at the time that I'm seeing there. That's more like 6 minutes. Feels good though. So something that stretching does is it helps potentially with neuroplasticity. How the heck does it do it? The mechanisms go around a couple of different things. One, if you practice long enough and you pay attention to your body, you're working on your proprioceptive and interoceptive skills. So proprioceptive, I think, is approximately how I'm relating to the physical outside, and interoceptive is how my internal parts, like maybe my blood pressure or my heartbeat or something like that. But also, what muscles are taking the pressure and such. And when you do that, you're actually training your brain, which grows neurons because you're thinking about something. So intention, actually practicing attention over time, will increase your neuroplasticity. And there's both again, a mental component, the parasympathetic component from your breath work. I'm not doing pinching here. What am I doing? And also the physical reality, the physical connections that you're forming through doing the stretching, and also the the learning that you are getting from focusing in on your body and learning how to feel and sense where things are. I've got something on my right leg, right about here on the backside, that is a tightness. And I suspect, I don't know this, that it came from an injury roughly, I want to say 2003. I was playing squash. I was in Ireland playing a game of squash. About 45 minutes in, I was in the back court, back left side, and I ran to the front right side, and it felt like someone took their racket and hit me like this with the racket on the side. And it hurt like hell, and I had trouble walking. About a week later, I had blood, little bruises on either side of my calf, and I think I tore something. Now I was younger and stupider, and I didn't go to the doctor. But what I did do, since I had practiced yoga, is I practiced walking with exceptional form. So, in fact, I made sure my feet were pointing forward, or sometimes even pigeon-toed. I took very small, deliberate steps, and slowly over time, I recovered. I healed it, and other than it's definitely tighter on my right side. Up until this point, some over 20 years later, I hadn't noticed that. Right there, I'm feeling it. But I can get lower, a lot lower on this side. I just have to be very gentle and take my time. Speaking of which, okay, I can't read that exactly. Hey, Alexa, set a 4-minute timer. I've already been going about a minute. That'll be good. Alexa took a little bit more of that. No, never mind, Alexa. Oh, the device took a little bit more of that than I wanted it to. Now, another thing about this, as you're working on these, like for example, I've got a good amount of pressure on my kneecap on my left leg. Initially, you can't do that. You have to work your way up. But what you can do is use pillows. If you watched any of my videos, I occasionally am on a black futon. It's a 4-inch futon. No, no, it's 2-inch futon. I don't know. It's not that thick. Penny's laying on it right now. And I use that a lot of times. I can get almost all the way down, except that because of the padding, I'm not really all the way down. So I have these small square pillows I might put under my knee. But with enough practice, eventually you can do that. You can put a lot more pressure on your knees. So for example, I can kneel on stone for a long time when I'm doing gardening, and it doesn't bother me. Now, when I'm doing that, I'm putting knees on pressure on my shins and my knee. But nonetheless, over time, what you're doing is you're training your body to be less responsive and less reactive to pain. And not to say that pain is bad. Pain is a signal. Pain is neither good nor bad. Pain is the body's way of telling you, hey, maybe you're doing something you should not be doing. But sometimes that pain is just, hey, I don't want to do that. The body doesn't want to stretch, but it can. And the nice thing is, if you get your body to stretch, the stretching stays. So when I started this in, whenever I started, 2022, I think, uh, I went for 6 months, screwed up my right shoulder. I tore it because I was in a pose. And even though I could tell it wasn't quite right, I egoed through it, ripped the hell out of my shoulder, stopped for 6 months. That was a mistake. That was not a good response, but whatever. That's what happened. Doesn't matter. I got back in 6 months later, and two things. One, I got right back in, and I hadn't really lost any of the flexibility that I'd gained. None really. So once you get flexible, unless you're actively doing something that's going to make you less flexible, it'll probably stay. So, for example, let's say you stretch your right arm, but then you start practicing playing tennis. Your active use of your right arm is going to make your right arm stronger and also generally less flexible. So then you might, to compensate that, stretch your right side longer than your left side. So if you're doing an asymmetrical sport, consider asymmetrical stretches that allow you to go longer on the side that's getting more workout so that you can get your body more symmetrical. And why is that important? When your body is off balance, you're going to compensate and you're more likely to trip, fall, do damage, and also just have ongoing upstream and downstream problems with your body. So by getting yourself balanced, you reduce that. You reduce the likelihood of injury. So stretching doesn't prevent injuries, but stretching prepares you so that when you fall, you're less likely to get injured. And also, you probably help with your balance because you're more symmetrical. And as a result, you will tend to fall less. And when you do fall, you'll fall better. Notice how much further down I am. Just have to let the body stretch. It doesn't think it can't stop it, Chesh. It doesn't think it can initially, but it will. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little bit of a break here, but I'm still going to be stretching. I've got a really intense stretch right now, both on my left front hip and the back side of my right leg. So I'm going to breathe to relax. Alexa, stop. Okay, that's about 5 minutes. I'm going to stay a little bit longer on this side, actually. Okay, I think that's good. Ooh, yeah, that was good. Flung that back leg forward. When you stretch, if you do it well, you will destabilize your muscles. You do two things. You turn your nervous system down a little bit, and that lasts for hours. So this is yin. not yin yoga, but yin as opposed to yang or yang. And you want to do this after yang. So, for example, I wouldn't go do jumping jacks after what I just did. May seem like it's okay. It might be okay. The problem is you turned off your nervous system so that you can't really tell if you're doing injury. So this is done. After this, I'm going to go to bed. I'm not going to do anything else. And actually, after doing these, if I walk down the stairs, I have to put my hands on the railing because if I don't, stop, Chesh, please. If I don't put my hands on the railing, I might fall because my legs are so weak right now. So you don't do this kind of stretching and then go on a run. Do it after. Do warm up stretches, great, but do not do deep flexibility stuff before you do aggressive stuff. Give yourself minimum two, more like 3 or 4 hours. Okay, now I don't know if I want to do side splits. I'm going to do side splits. I really don't want to do side splits. So since I don't want to, it means it's time to do it. I'm going to start with just a little bit of pre work here. I'm not actually stretching. I'm just sort of getting a sense of where my body's at on each side. Okay. See right here, I can feel that, whereas on the other side I couldn't. So this is already, even though I've just stretched this out, it's still tighter than the left side, easily tighter. I can tell it's tighter. Oof, this is harder to do. Actually, say what? Even though I'm not going to do the stretch on the left side, I'm going to do a little bit on the right side. Now, for a stretch like this, if you bend your knee just a little bit, like maybe put a very small pillow, you can get a lot lower and still get a really good stretch. So I'm not locking my knee down. It's got a slight bend. Okay. Now that's not a deep flexibility stretch I did. I didn't do it long enough, but just trying to get a sense of where my body's at. Okay, now one other thing I'm going to do first also. This one I will be doing a little bit longer. We do butterfly. Now think of butterfly. I want to get my knees down. And again, it's how it looks, not how it feels. We're using a yoga pose, but our intention is different than straight yoga. And so I'm going to be doing different things than if I were doing this in a yoga class. I might be, for example, closer in a yoga class. But here, I'm trying to get myself to be able to fall forward so I can then allow gravity to do the work. Now I'm pulling a little bit. That's not science of stretching. That's me being a little silly, or more of a ballistic type stretching than a science of stretching, a gravity stretch. But if I do something like this, now I'm having to hold my arms up. That's unfortunate, but the weight of my arms is allowing my body to go forward with gravity. So now I'm changing, I'm coming up, but I'm going to lock my arms and allow myself to sort of just a little bit of press on on my knees so I can open up my inner thighs. Okay, that was not a very long pose, but that's fine. So now I've got no props that I want to use handy. I'll just do it. I'll do it basic. No, yeah, I'm not going to use that. Head tilt chest. Okay, now I'm going to be able to pet you for a bit. Okay, so this is slightly more than 90 degrees, and already I can feel the backside of my right knee right above the knee on the outside, the lateral side. So posterior, I don't know what this is, 120 degrees. Okay, right there is a nice, really good stretch. Now, in science of stretching, I believe this stretch is called pancake. And whatever, it definitely helps with the side splits. Sometimes I come get on my heels and I go straight down, but this is a lot less aggressive and it works pretty well. So I could do, for example, this. Ooh, whoa, that's a little too much, too fast. Okay. Now let's say this is too far down, but you want to lock out your arms. Bricks under your arms. Pillows. Pillows are better. The reason is pillows will scrunch a little bit, but like yoga bricks generally do not. I say better. If you want stability, use bricks. If you want to allow for a little bit of support and then also a little deepening of the pose, pillows work better. You could do both. Bricks in some places, pillows in others. Don't be afraid to use props. Are you in the video? You're not quite in the video. Come here. You come here. You're gonna lick my glasses and makeup covered in. Now, playing with your puppy, and she's a year old today, so she's still a puppy. Playing with your puppy definitely is good for your parasympathetic nervous system. However, stopping your puppy from playing with the cat is probably not. And I hope she doesn't fart. If I had a brick, I would do brickhead, and brickhead is just supporting your forehead. And when you do this, you've got another leverage point, and it often helps relieve stress on your lower back. I'm going to come up. That's pretty good. I mean, I maybe could go a little bit flatter. Eventually, I'd like to get my chest on the ground, but this is another probably 2 years before I'll reach my limit on side splits. Normally, for most poses, you're gonna get 80% of the way in a year, and then you go from there. Some of the stuff I've been doing on my splits is probably a little bit out of the realm of basic range of motion and science of stretching, basic stretching, but I don't mind. Sometimes you gotta try things out and see what works. Just don't, please. You know, well, you don't know, you don't understand, but you've done this for 3 years with me, you should know better. You should learn. Maybe cats don't learn. I don't know. Whoa, okay. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, I'm gonna say that's 155 degrees, maybe 160, but I don't know. I wonder. Yeah, that's about right. Need a protractor. Oh, man. Wow. Mm. I'm gonna call that. Ah, yikes. Ah, that's intense. Hey, Penny. Oh, you're gonna lay down in front of me? That's a good girl. Okay, I'm gonna pet you. Or you gonna try to bite me? You gonna lick me or you gonna bite me? What are you gonna do? I'm gonna call it. But if you have any body parts that are particularly sore, leave it in the comments. I'll if I have an idea on what might help you, I'll give you a list of stretches you can try and links to videos that you might find useful. Have a good one, and see you next time. Say goodbye, Penny. Give I love you, puppy. Give me a kiss. No, you're not gonna give me a kiss? Give me a kiss. Oh, you don't want to give me a kiss? Okay, that's fine. You don't give me a kiss. Oh, you're in a play mode. I see. Actually, I know I finished the video, but this is actually minorly ballistic stretching. I'm not really that deep in the pose, so it's fine. But just a little bit of very, very minor shaking is probably not. I don't wouldn't recommend doing it too much, but it's not bad all the time. Okay, I'm going to stop that now. Okay, let's see. Oof, my legs are nice and toasty. Outer hips nicely stretched. Inner hips, surprisingly, as I got wider, the place that was tightest was like right about here on both legs, right about here. So we'll see how that works out tomorrow. Night night.